Hey everybody, I wanted to wrap up all of our understanding annuities videos with a bit of a review of all the different types of annuities out there and talk about when and where and how to use these things properly. So let's get started with the income annuities. These are the ones that are mostly sold. This is typically where annuities get a bad name. So we got to know what to focus on and what to deal with here. And we got to remember that there's really three different versions of these annuities that are built to pay guaranteed income for life. Okay, so we focus in on what do we need for our base living expenses. We need to have some balance between the income in retirement and the savings we're going to use for the extra fun stuff. Okay, so that's the first thing to think about. Guaranteed income should only pay those base living expenses because too much income leads to excess taxation, difficulty keeping up with inflation because you have a flat payment for the rest of your life, and less money for your heirs. So that's why I typically talk about these income annuities in a way for boosting income just to pay those base living expenses. That's the important distinction for utilizing an investment like this, okay? We should also begin planning 5 to 10 years prior to retirement. We should be looking at that income. We should be looking at what our Social Security is going to look like, and is that going to pay our bills in retirement? Okay, so if our Social Security and any pension income we're going to have is not enough to keep the shelter over our head, to keep the base living requirements paid for, then we do need to consider utilizing one of these types of income annuities. Okay, so the immediate annuities, those are actually what company pensions are. The companies, when you retire, just take a lump sum of money, hand it to an insurance company, and they buy an immediate annuity. So you're handing a lump sum of money, and the insurance company is then guaranteeing a payment to you for the rest of your life. Okay, so you're going to utilize this if you didn't do planning ahead, or you consciously decided to be aggressive with your investing, grow your money, and then when you need that income, you're going to send the lump sum and get the highest payment possible. Okay. Those of us that are being proactive, we're looking at these deferred income annuities. Okay, these come in the form of a fixed deferred income annuity or a variable annuity with those income riders on it. Okay, so now in this case, we want to take advantage of the growth of this fictitious account that they will calculate the guaranteed income. Okay, so we're looking at 5 to 10 years of deferral that we want to have in these things. That's where we see the guaranteed 7-10% growth, the locking into the high water mark of the stock market, all those fun, wonderful things that are getting sold to us. But if we need it for income, that could be a good thing, and we're going to want to use that. So deferred income annuities, either the fixed version or the variable version, that is really just building a pension for ourselves. And we want to plan ahead for this 5 to 10 years before we think we need income. We can put money, lump sum, into an investment like this. They have parameters on how that money will grow and how they will calculate that guaranteed income for you. And that is very handy for those of us that are not going to have pensions in retirement. Okay, so that's the income annuities, when, how, where to use all that stuff. Now, variable annuities. We just talked about variable annuities, but those are the variable annuities with the income riders. So there are variable annuities out there that don't add those fancy bells and whistles, those fancy riders on there. Okay, so I note on here without an income rider. So we have to understand what this actually is. This is really just a mutual fund portfolio housed at an insurance company that's charging you some fees. That's all it is. You can invest in mutual funds, the same mutual funds, without the insurance company. So why would we do this? Well, tax deferral, that's primarily the only reason for these. If we're not paying for the income rider or maybe some fancy death benefit, then we're really just paying the insurance company to house this. And because it's under the category of annuities, it's tax deferred. And that doesn't matter when it's IRA money or Roth money. So no reason for a variable annuity in an IRA or Roth unless it comes with the fancy bells and whistles. Without the fancy bells and whistles, there's no reason for it in IRA or Roth. But if you need it for tax deferral in your after-tax portfolio, then theoretically that's the only reason we're going to use a variable annuity without any of those fancy riders on there. Okay, the problem with this, and this is universally, I've very rarely seen one of these variable annuities used properly. Here's the big problem. The stock market is actually tax advantaged, right? Long-term capital gains, qualified dividends are all taxed at much lower tax rates. We get to write off losses if we lose money, right? But we lose all of those benefits if we put this money in a variable annuity and invest in the mutual funds in the variable annuity. Because of the term variable annuity, because of the term annuity, it's all interest that comes out of there. It's no longer a long-term capital gain. It's no longer a qualified dividend. It's all interest. And we've lost those tax advantages. If we pass away, it doesn't step up the cost basis anymore like it would in the stock market. So we have to understand that we're taking good taxation and turning it into bad taxation. And we're deferring this, which means somewhere in the future, we have to have a plan to get this out at lower taxation. And I've never seen anybody that went into this with already a preconceived plan that says, I know when I'm going to take this out. So this is the scary part about these. I don't find these very useful, and I find them way more often misused and misunderstood. There are not too many reasons for the variable annuities without the fancy bells and whistles of the income riders. So if you are going to do, or you already have, a variable annuity, you need to laser focus into what riders were added, what benefits this insurance company is giving you beyond the tax deferral, because most likely it's not useful and you're really hurting yourself in from a tax standpoint into the future. Okay, so variable annuities, limited use, not too many reasons to use them unless you're using the fancy bells and whistles. All right, fixed annuities. These have become the most popular type of annuity this year by far. And the reality is they're way better than CDs. They are CDs, they're just from an insurance company. So if you still have that stigma of the word annuity, that never came from these. There are lots of different types of annuities out there, and this is the most plain Jane basic type of investment out there possible. It's a fixed interest rate for a fixed period of time. Okay, the concern I have with these is too much in the fixed interest rate world. Okay, you'll have trouble keeping up with inflation. Historically, especially when we're still at low interest rates, even though you can get these into the 5s, sometimes even into the 6s right now in the world that we're in, that's still historically incredibly low. And when inflation is 9%, 6 doesn't help you keep up with that. Okay, so we do need to understand when we're looking at the bigger, grander scale of things, we want to limit how much money we put at stagnant fixed interest rates. That is not going to typically keep us up with inflation. Okay, think of these more as an income producer, like a bond, like a CD, like a dividend paying stock, those publicly traded REITs, MLPs, closed-end funds. This could be a piece of the puzzle in an income producing portfolio, and a great piece. Okay, I would replace all individual bonds with these things. I would replace any CD with these things in the vein of trying to create income in the portfolio. Okay, now the I need to pays should be paid by guaranteed income, and this is not guaranteed income. This is an investment that guarantees to pay you interest for a distinct period of time, typically 5 years on these things. So that's not guaranteed. What if interest rates are 0 5 years from now, right? Then you don't have that income anymore. So the I need to pay should be paid for by your Social Security, your pension income, or those income annuities that we started with. This income portfolio that you build from non-guaranteed paying interest, okay? Because again, this will be guaranteed for say 5 years, but it won't be guaranteed after that. So it's still not guaranteed for the rest of your life. These, when you build a portfolio properly, will be great to pay the I want to pays. If you need a boost, if you need an extra $5, $10, $15, $20, $25,000 a year, you build an income portfolio that produces that much, and there's your fund money each year, and you don't have to cash the principal out, okay? That's the idea of investments like this. So, fixed indexed annuities. Okay, this is the safer alternative to a bond portfolio. That's typically what we see moving to this type of investing. Okay, instead of buying bond mutual funds, especially 401ks, they only give you the stocks and bond mutual funds, and then those ones that combine the two. You have stocks and bonds in the same mutual fund. We got to get rid of those bonds. If you haven't figured out that you got to get out of bonds, I'm not sure what else we can do. There's a whole bunch of videos on YouTube for you, especially on my YouTube page, on what's going on with bonds and why they haven't really paid anybody anything for 20 years. That's right, 20 years, and that was 100% predictable. Okay, and they're not going to continue. They're going to continue not paying you. They're a return-free risk. Okay, so the migration from the bond portfolios to fixed indexed annuities has been going on for several years, and the acceptance of this type of investment has really taken hold. Okay, we're starting to see all the big boys out there starting to accept these as a very good alternative to a bond portfolio. This eliminates the risk to rising interest rates. That's why 2022 was so difficult on bonds, because interest rates went straight up and bond values went straight down. So you lost 10 to 20% in your bond portfolio in value, and you're not going to get that back unless interest rates plummet to 0. If we go back to new lows, then you might get some of that value back. Okay, you have bonds that are paying you 3% in most of these mutual funds. It's not really going to do much to make up for 10 to 20%, right? So the fixed indexed annuities pay flexible interest that help you keep up with inflation. So if we're trying to find a safe investment to help us keep up with inflation in retirement, the only safe investment out there that has a chance is these. I'll be honest, when I look at retirees and I look at their desire to have safe investments, this is a necessity in a retiree's portfolio that wants to be conservative. In order for anybody to have a chance to keep up with inflation, you can't just go out there and fill your portfolio with CDs. You're not going to do it. Historically, CDs have done a terrible job at keeping up with inflation, but the flexibility you have in fixed indexed annuities, that gives you that flexibility, and that does absolutely, unequivocally, and historically help you keep up with inflation. So we have to deal with the limitation, which is 10% access. Okay, we have to build the portfolio in a way where 10% access to this portion that we're putting into this investment is going to be okay. And for most people, that means IRA money, because we're never going to pull huge chunks out of there. So within 5 years of retirement, you need to start pulling back the risk parameters in the part of the portfolio that you're going to be withdrawing from once you retire. It's very important. You never pull from losses. So once you get to retirement, you need to have a plan, okay? And within 5 years of retirement, we want to start pulling back those risk parameters so the market doesn't crash right before you're planning on heading into retirement. We saw a lot of people learn that lesson back in 2008, but I'll be real honest, that seems like a long time ago, and the market has just gone straight up, and now we've had some fluctuations. People are aware of it. So we've got to remember there's been a long history of this. We have lots of turbulence, then we go straight up, and then lots of turbulence, and we go straight up. It seems to be rhyming, and there seems to be a rhythm to it. But boy, past results does not equal the future. We got to be careful about how we think things are going to go. So pull back that risk so you can go retire. Focus it on where you're going to pull from. The next part you have to know is once you head into retirement, that IRA has a bullseye on it. You haven't paid taxes on that. The whole reason you saved that IRA money is because you didn't have to pay taxes on it when you were at higher income levels. And now you go to retire, typically you're at lower income levels, which means lower taxation, which means it's time to start working on that IRA, which means your withdrawals are going to be focused on that IRA, which means that's where we need our safe investments. Because we're never going to pull large amounts out of an IRA all at once, because that shoots us up into higher taxation and it defeats the purpose. Okay, we need to pull a little bit out every single year, as opposed to let's pull $200,000-$400,000 all at once. So that helps you start seeing where to put fixed indexed annuities. When we really look at most portfolios and the way they roll out, these make most sense in IRAs. Within 5 years of retirement, that's when you want to start pulling back that risk. These are the great safe investment for doing things like that. Okay, and that's why we're seeing a huge migration from bond money that's in IRAs, bond mutual funds, and all that type of stuff, and they move into the fixed indexed annuities as they're approaching retirement. Great idea, great place to utilize these fixed indexed annuities. Then there's the registered index linked annuities. I talked about these in one video. Honestly, these are all these two are rarely used, and for good reason. Okay, so registered indexed linked annuities are kind of this hybrid between a variable annuity and a fixed indexed annuity. And I've got to be honest, they're limiting your upside, and you still have exposure to downside, but they're limiting that downside. They add fees to it, and all of a sudden, I look at the results of these, I test the history on them based on all different markets, and there's better fixed indexed annuities with better results and zero risk. I don't know how these are going to fit in yet. Because we have better interest rates right now, because they've been around a little longer, we're starting to see maybe a little window that their earning ability is going to be a little better. But you have downside risk, so it has to be significantly better as far as I'm concerned compared to a no-risk fixed indexed annuity. So at this point, the RILAs, the registered indexed linked annuities that come with real risk, not as much of a value for these things out there yet. Over the next 10 years or so, maybe they'll figure it out and really distinguish themselves as a difference maker, but I just don't see the benefits of it yet. And then the QLACs, qualified longevity annuity contracts, you can stick 200,000 in there now and defer that required distribution until 85, and then it annuitizes and gives you a payment for the rest of your life. I'm sorry, I still have yet to understand the value of this. Okay, for the most part, it doesn't even really grow for your heirs. Your 200,000 is safe, and the 200,000 will go to the heirs if you pass away before 85. Well, I'm not sure why we would do that. If we really cared about money going to our heirs, we're not doing this. Okay, then if we don't care about the money going to the heirs, what if we don't live to 85? Well, that money was all locked up and locked away. We couldn't use it for ourselves. Okay, what if we don't need the income at 85? There's so many what ifs that I don't know that I see the value of this. Okay, let's say we live to 100. Okay, well then you had 15 years worth of payments that you maybe showed a profit on. I'm still skeptical. And from the planner inside me, I still look at all this math and say, that makes no sense to me. The parameters I've seen on all the products in the QLAC world, I can't see much value out there on that. So I'm sorry, but both these, the RILAs and QLACs at this point, very limited value. I have utilized them a couple times, but I just have a hard time with them. They don't seem to be producing much value for anybody in any situation. Okay. Well, that kind of reviews all the different types of annuities that you'll run into out there. Kind of gives you a light into when to use them, how to use them, where best to use them. And hopefully that helps out. If you have any questions on this, we look at this stuff from a planning perspective. We utilize all this stuff without bias. And that's the scary part about what's going on out there is the reason annuities get a bad name is usually it's somebody just licensed to sell you an annuity. They're not a financial planner. They don't look at how to use this properly in your situation. So that's the important part. If you're going to get an annuity, make sure somebody is putting a plan together that says this is how we're going to use this annuity and why we're using this annuity. Because they can be great tools. You can be the quarterback in your situation. If you know everything about every investment, you should see the value in these annuities. There's lots of different choices out there and lots of different uses out there. So make sure we're utilizing them properly. Make sure we have, well, let's say let's try to get rid of those biases and look at them constructively and say, let's use it the right way for our situation. Give us a call, shoot us an email, comment below. Did I miss an annuity? Is there an annuity topic you want me to add to this playlist that we put together? We got a whole bunch of information on all different types of annuities, but if I miss something, comment below and I'll put a video together. Great to see everybody. Thank you for coming. We'll see you next week. All right. Bye.